Mason0 ASMR. My name is Mason, and today I'm here to give you some tingles, help you fall asleep. And in order to do that, I'm going to be doing something that has been requested a lot, which is more deck tech videos from Magic the Gathering. I've done several now, and I've gotten some feedback lately about them being very popular. So, today I'm going to do one of my favorite decks to play in Standard right now, which is the black-green sacrifice deck. It's a lot of fun. I was actually playing it before, it got like super big and exploded. So it felt cool. I wasn't playing the exact same version, but I was pretty close. And when I watched the Pro Tour, and Luis Scott Vargas was playing his version of this deck, I got very happy because I was doing it as well. So I then changed it a bit to more match his, and now it's mostly that with a little bit of with some ramp. It doesn't really have too much ramp, but it has some bigger creatures to end the game. So our first card, which is probably one of the most important ones in the deck, is 4 copies of Nantuko Husk. Nantuko Husk is a card that's been around for a while in Magic, and it is in Standard right now. It is a 2/2 for 2 and a black. Sacrifice a creature, Nantuko Husk gets +2/+2 until end of turn. That's a pretty cool effect, but coupled with the rest of the deck, it gets pretty awesome. A bunch of things that trigger when they die, a bunch of cheap creatures, some tokens. It gets cool. So we got 4 of those. Then we have 4 Sideboard Cutthroat, which also helps us out a lot when we sacrifice creatures, because whenever it or another creature we control dies, each opponent loses 1 life, and you gain 1 life. So 4 of those is a no-brainer. That and Nantuko Husk are the main important parts of the deck, hands down. Another great value card that we have 4 of, once again, is Catacomb Sifter. It's 1 black-green for a 2/3 that comes in with an additional Eldrazi Scion token. So we get 2 creatures for 3 mana, which is awesome. 2 things we can sacrifice, plus whenever another creature we control dies, we can scry 1, which allows us to filter through our deck a bit and find what we need. So 4 of those. Then our first, super cheap spell super cheap creature that helps out a lot is Blister Pod. It's 1 mana for a 1/1. When it dies, we get a 1/1 Eldrazi Scion token. That's fantastic when we're sacrificing. It's 1 mana for, essentially for the Nantuko Husk, it's 1 mana for 4 power and toughness, which is crazy. That's like a super giant growth. Then we have 3 Elvish Visionary. For some reason I thought I had 4, I guess I don't. I think I've adjusted the deck a bit over time. It used to have 4 and then I replaced it with something a little better. So, this is another card that's been in Magic for quite a long time. It is a 1/1 for 2 that draws us a card when it enters the battlefield. So it's 2 mana to draw a card and give Nantuko Husk +2/+2, or sacrifice to something else. We then have 3 copies of one of the best uncommons from Shadows over Innistrad, Duskwatch Recruiter. It's a 2/2 for 2 that helps us get our creatures out. We can pay 3 to look at the top 3 cards of our library, reveal a creature, and put it into our hand. Put the rest in the bottom of the library. It's also a werewolf, so if at the beginning of each upkeep, if no spells were cast last turn, it transforms into Krowlin Horde Howler, which is a 3/3 that makes our creature spells cost 1 less. So we can get creatures into our hands and we can play them all for cheap. So 3 of those. Awesome card. Way overpowered. And then for some early mana fixing, we have 2 Loam Dryad, 1 mana for a 1/2. So that is all the creatures. We have quite a few. Next, we have some. Actually, no, it's not all of the creatures. That's all the small creatures that are for the sacrifice strategy. We have some bigger creatures later. First, some spells. We have 2 Oath of Nissa. Put the not shiny one on top so you can read it. It's 1 mana for a legendary enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, we look at the top 3 cards of the library and can reveal a creature, land, or planeswalker from among them and put them into our hand. So, that's a great turn 1 play. If our hand is light on land, we can get a land. If it's land heavy, we can get a good creature that we can play. There's always something to hit with it, so 2 of those is awesome. Plus, there's a card in the sideboard that is good with Delirium, or has Delirium, and having an enchantment in the graveyard is nice. We have 3 Cryptolitherite. It's a 2 mana enchantment that says creatures you control have tap, add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. That's going to help us get our bigger things out later. Take all these small guys, if we haven't sacrificed them, and turn them into mana. What I love about this is that Eldrazi Scions can create 2 mana. They can tap for 1 colored and then sacrifice for a colorless. So that's awesome. Now unfortunately, I don't have millions of dollars, so I only have 1 Galactic Company, but it's a great card, because so many of our creatures are mana cost 3 or less. This lets us look at the top 6 cards of our library and put 2 creatures with mana cost 3 or less onto the battlefield. I wish I had more, but they're like $25. So yeah, got this card in a trade for my expedition, one of many cards I got in the trade for it. Alright, next card is Liliana, Heretical Healer. This card I'm actually borrowing from my girlfriend, so thank you to her. She's 1 and 2 black for a 2/3 legendary creature with lifelink. When a non-token creature dies, we transform her into the planeswalker, and we get a 2/2 zombie, which we can sacrifice. Her planeswalker side, she has 3 loyalty, +2, each player discards a card, -X, which is probably what we'll do a lot. Return target non-legendary creature card with converted mana cost X from your graveyard to the battlefield. And -8, you get an emblem with whenever a creature dies, return it to the battlefield under your control at the beginning of the next end step. If we could do that, that would be awesome. I don't think that'll ever happen. But, yeah, we'd have to do a lot of her +2, which isn't really what we want to be doing. It's fine, I guess, but I don't think she'll live that long. Then we have Nissa, Vast Woodseer. She's a 2/2 for 3 legendary creature. When she enters the battlefield, we search our library for a forest and put it into our hand. And when a land enters the battlefield, if we have 7 or more lands, we turn her into a planeswalker. Much like Liliana, we get Nissa, Sage, Animist. She also has 3 loyalty. Her +1 is reveal the top card of your library. If it's a land card, put it onto the battlefield, otherwise put it into your hand. -2, put a legendary 4/4 green elemental creature token named Ashaya the Awoken World onto the battlefield. -7, untap up to 6 target lands. They become 6/6 elemental creatures. They're still haste. Sorry, they're still lands. Sorry, I said they're still haste. Oops. Anyways, so she's not the best card in this. She helps us ramp a little bit, and the big token is nice. A lot of her creatures are small, so that's cool. Would probably be a card to let go if we got more Galactic Company. Maybe. Then our final planeswalker, our first actual planeswalker, we have Nissa, Voice of Zendikar. 3 mana for 3 loyalty once again. +1, put a 0/1 green plant creature token onto the battlefield. -2, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. -7, you gain X life and draw X cards, or X the number of lands you control. honestly, we don't mind just doing +1 forever. Just get plants to sacrifice. And then if we get up to 7 or 8, we can do that, and we can do our ultimate, get a little life buffer, and get some more cards into our hand if we've gotten rid of all of our creatures. So, she is pretty great. Sylvan Advocate is nice. The 2/3 of Vigilance for 2, which is already awesome, but it gets +2/+2 if we control 6 or more lands. And we do have a couple Hissing Quagmires, so if we animate those, they also get +2/+2. So, very good card for only 2 mana. So we have one of those. And then we have Matter Reshaper, which synergizes super well. It's a 3/2 for 3. When it dies, reveal the top card of your library. You may put that card onto the battlefield if it's a permanent with converted mana cost 3 or less. Otherwise, put it into your hand. Awesome, because almost all of our stuff is a permanent with 3 or less mana. And, yeah. Also, if we have the Catacomb Sifter out, we can scry first, because this will die, and then we can scry off of that, and then this trigger will happen, so we can make sure that the card we're going to get is something we want. And then one of our finishers, we have 2 copies of Bane of Balagad. It's a 7/5 for 7, which we can play pretty easily if we have Cryptolith right out. Whenever it attacks, defending player exiles 2 permanents he or she controls. That can be pretty devastating unless they went wide with tokens. Yeah, if they're a control deck or something, goodbye lands and planeswalkers. So ends up being nice, but it's probably an early card to go with Sideboard in if the opponent is playing tokens or something. Our last non-land card is Worldbreaker. It's a 5/7 for 7 Eldrazi. When you cast Worldbreaker, exile target artifact, enchantment, or land, and it has reach. It can pay 2 and a colorless and sacrifice a land to return it to our hand from the graveyard. So just a giant beating Eldrazi. Also has reach, so good against Amazon and stuff. Now onto the lands. We have 1 copy of Westvale Abbey, which I would love to have more of, obviously. Tap it, add a colorless. Pay 5 and tap it. Pay 1 life and put a 1/1 token on the battlefield. Pay 5, tap it, sacrifice 5 creatures and transform it. Then untap it. And it turns into Ormondal, Profane Prince. A 9/7 legendary creature demon with flying, lifelink, indestructible, and haste. It's pretty awesome. When this thing flips, it is usually game over. Not all the time, but it's a good finisher, and it's very easy to flip in this deck, obviously. Sacrificing 5 creatures is nothing. And if we have Cryptolith right out, we can just tap them for the 5 mana, then sacrifice them. It's perfect. It's terrible and perfect. We have 2 creature lands in the form of Hissing Quagmire. Comes in tapped, adds black or green, and we can pay 1 black and green, turn it into a 2/2 creature with Death Touch. If Sylvan Advocate's out, we have 6 or more lands, then it's a 4/4 with Death Touch. We have 2 copies of Llanowar Wastes, which is nice to get some colorless mana. Only Worldbreaker and Matter Reshaper need colorless for anything, but still nice. That's a pain land. Taps for colorless or adds green or black if we take a damage. Then we have 2 copies of Rogue's Passage. Also taps for colorless, and we can pay 4 and tap it to make something unblockable until end of turn. Usually that's going to be a giant Nantuko Husk, because Nantuko Husk doesn't have trample or anything, so it doesn't matter how big we make it if our opponents have a blocker. So making it unblockable is perfect. Our last non-basic is Spawning Bed. Also taps for colorless, then we can pay 6 and tap it, and sacrifice it to put 3 Eldrazi Scions on the battlefield. If we are in a pinch and need some creatures, to sacrifice or anything, this works perfectly. And the rest is just basics. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 swamps, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 forests. So, there you go, guys. Black Green Sacrifice, my version of it, heavily based off of Louis Scott Fargus's. Now the sideboard, I took some liberties with. I haven't had to use too much of it yet, because usually this deck just kind of works on its own. So we have 2 copies of Pick the Brain, which is kind of an experimental card. Haven't had a chance to use it yet. It's a 3-mana sorcery. Target opponent reveals his or her hand. You choose a non-land card from it, exile that card. So it's sort of like Duress, but with, well, it's a little better than Duress for more mana. But if we have Delirium, we then search our opponent's hand, library, and graveyard for that card and exile them. Also gives us a chance to look through our opponent's library, which is nice. Then we have 2 copies of Duress, which is 1 mana. Target opponent reveals his or her hand. You choose a non-creature, non-land card from it. That player discards that card. So, depending on which is better for the scenario. Clip Wings is the anti-Avacyn card. 2 mana for an instant. Each opponent sacrifices a creature with flying. Avacyn's hard to get rid of. That's how you do it. We also have Bearer of Silence. It's 1 and a black for a 2/1 Eldrazi with flying, and it can't block. When you cast it, you may pay 1 of the colorless. If you do, target opponent sacrifices a creature. Could be nice if it's a creature light deck. Here's some removal that gets past indestructibility. X and a black. Target creature gets -X/-X until end of turn. Obviously, Grasp of Darkness is better if we're doing 4 or less, but works nicely for bigger things. I mean, we could even kill an Ulamog. You never know. We have 1 ultimate price, destroy target monocolored creature. Nice to have some removal in there. And have Den Protector to get cards back from our graveyard. It's a 2/1 for 1. Creatures with power less than Den Protector's power can't block it. Most of the time we want to megamorph it, however. So we play it face down for 3, flip it up for 1 and a green, then we can return a card from our graveyard to our hand. So that's useful for recurring certain effects. This is a card that I haven't had to use yet, but in decks that have Ulamog and maybe even Avacyn, that makes things indestructible. I have 2 Bonds of Mortality. I can get rid of some of that indestructibility. Or Ormondal. Ormondal is a big one too. So, something that'll allow us to remove. Oh, we just have 1. Never mind. We have 2 Natural State. Destroy target artifact or enchantment with mana cost 3 or less. Haven't really had to use this yet, but if someone brought in Silk Wrap against us, we definitely want to put Natural State in. Conduit of Ruin is a 6 mana 5/5 Eldrazi. When you cast it, you may search your library for a colorless creature with mana cost 7 or greater, reveal it, and put it on top of our library. The first creature spell we cast each turn costs 2 less to cast. That's a nice utility card for games that might go a little longer. It'll help us speed things up, play our things faster, get the finishers that we need. Our last card is Traverse the Ulvenwald. 1 mana to search our library for a basic land and put it into our hand. If we have Delirium, we can search for any land or any creature and put it into our hand. So, it's a nice utility if we're not finding the things that we want. Depending on how the game is going, we might need to find a specific thing that we only have 1 copy of, and that might be what we need to find it. So guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this deck. I'll be sure to do more in the future, since you guys seem to like them so much. I've exhausted my 2 commander decks, but Sophia is going to do her commander deck very soon. I have a Pauper commander that I can do, and a couple other experimental standard decks, and I could probably do an updated one of my modern decks. And soon I will be able to do one for the cube. So, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time. Sleep well.